This week, we talk security news. That's right, how Turkey's fining Facebook $282,000 over privacy breach. Why the FBI is encouraging not to pay ransomware demands. The top 10 cybersecurity myths that criminals love. DoorDash third-party breach hits 4.9 million users, and how Bulletproof dark web data center was seized by German police. In our second segment, we have a pre-recorded interview with Stuart Room. He's a partner at PwC, and we talk about data privacy, which is really awesome. In our final segment, we're going to air a show trailer or a segment from our new show that was recorded this week. It is the first sneak peek into Security and Compliance Weekly. This episode features the primary host for the show, Jeff Mann, in addition to Matt Alderman, Scott Lyons, and Josh Marpet. All that and more on this episode of Paul's Security Weekly.
This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where exploits run wild, packets aren't the only things getting sniffed, and the cocktails flow steady. It's Paul's Security Weekly. Effectively securing your organization and its reputation requires a smarter approach. To maximize efficiency and minimize risk, security experts turn to LogRhythm, the only leading solution built solely for security teams by a security team committed to your success. With next-gen SIEM, user and entity behavior analytics, network traffic and behavior analysis, security automation and orchestration, and compliance, LogRhythm provides security made smarter. The question is simple. Have any of the systems on my network been compromised? The answer is harder than it should be. Enter AI Hunter. Active Countermeasures has automated and streamlined techniques used by the best pen testers and threat hunters in the industry to create AI Hunter, a network threat hunting solution that does the first pass of a hunt for you to identify systems that are most likely to be compromised and scores the results on a scale from 0 to 100. You can then research those systems in depth with AI Hunter. Focus your valuable time on the systems that need your expertise with AI Hunter. Sign up for a personal demo today at securityweekly.com/ACM. Are you an enterprise dissatisfied with overpriced analytics software that can't keep up with modern data? If so, then Gravwell is the solution for you. Gravwell is an unstructured data analytics platform for enterprises who demand total data visibility across their network. Gravwell lets your security team go beyond the SIEM and fuse data sources to correlate and answer questions you didn't know needed to be asked. Go to gravwell.io/securityweekly for an unlimited data trial and gain uncompromising visibility today.
And welcome to the show. But first, let me introduce you to a real smart feller. D's nuts.
Welcome to Paul's Security Weekly. It's episode 622, recorded on October 3rd, 2019, right here in G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island. Unexpectedly making an in-studio appearance for this show is our very own CEO, Mr. Matt Alderman.
Yes, I am supposed to be on an airplane home, but ground stoppage in Newark. I wasn't getting stuck in Newark tonight, so I'm like, I'll go home in the morning.
Break out an extra chair. I'm staying. We're like, yay, and then we're like, no, you have to call the family and tell them you're not going to be home.
Yeah. Wife wasn't happy about this one.
Well, it's nothing you can do.
I couldn't get home.
It was either here or Newark.
Yeah, I'll take here any day.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Mr. Larry Pesce is here with us as well in studio.
Yes, that I am.
Very nice.
Amazingly.
2 weeks in a row, the three of us are here. Holy cow.
right?
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row for both of us. Yeah, I'm going on like 3 or 4 at this point. Like,
it's going to be a lot of fun.
Good. Yeah.
Excited. I'm excited. Mr. Lee Neely is on the lines remotely. Welcome, Lee.
Great to be here. Wonderful day. Nice to spend about 36 hours in the house before hitting the road again. So
there you go.
And I get to play with you guys.
Yay?
Yeah.
I think.
Yay?
Maybe. Is that illegal in some
Your backdrop changed from earlier today.
Yeah.
You're home.
He's home now.
Yes.
He is home now.
Yes,
From
I am.
an undisclosed location with a black background, Mr. Tyler Robinson is here with us. Tyler, welcome.
Buenos dias, everyone.
Hey, it's good to, last time I introduced you, and then I saw that you dropped, and then we got so involved in stories, we ended the segment. I'm like, wait, where did Tyler, I forgot to tell everyone that Tyler dropped. I'm like, shit, sorry about that.
Good.
Hopefully you can stay for the whole time. this time?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay.
That undisclosed location's got better internet.
Gotcha. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, Tyler, that undisclosed location doesn't look anything like what I'd seen it when it was the previously undisclosed location.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being slightly modified.
Yeah, you think?
A lot of disclosing and undisclosed. Anyway, the new Security Weekly website is officially live. Check out securityweekly.com for all of the new features, which include the ability to sort and filter our content on our public website. Matt, you must be thrilled.
Oh, we've been
This
working
is
on
Matt's
this
baby.
for
My
so
baby
long.
is the internal software we use for
Yeah.
publishing. Matt's baby is now the website, which I was happy. I was like, WordPress? Yes, you can have WordPress. I'm going to go code in Python. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this has been a big in the works over the past quarter or so, where we wanted a better user experience on the website. New menu, new navigation, all those securityweekly.com/whatevers are
Blah, blah,
now
blah.
all accessible via a menu item, pretty much. And then we took all of our old content, we broke it down by shows, and we added the ability to sort and filter on that content. So now, if you're interested in PSW and threat hunting, you go to Paul's Security Weekly, check the threat hunting box, boom, it'll filter down all the segments on threat hunting. So hopefully you guys enjoy navigating the new website. We got it out this afternoon. So
Well, and this is, it's interesting. This is a problem that not just we have had, but many have had that do a regular blog, regular podcast, is you post new stuff every single week. And over time, like, the archive just gets filled. And then listeners come to us and they're like, what was that episode you did? I'm like, I don't even know.
Yeah,
Right.
I can use search in the wiki just like the best of them can.
Right?
Right.
And that,
exactly
and even that was very clunky.
very clunky.
Yep.
And you can you can type in a search string and it will find the stuff. We put all that listener survey, the interest list email that we've been collecting. Phase 1 was to collect it. Phase 2 now is it's all the content's been recategorized, and most of it. I mean, there's some older segments that we probably still need to clean up. So if there's any feedback,
if you
we'll
find
take
stuff
that.
on our new website, whatever it is, please just email us PSW.
No. Website at securityweekly.net.
Email website at securityweekly.com or
.net.
DM me. I mean, there's a million ways to get a hold of it.
But
We don't have an official, like...
we created an official group today for website at
We have an
Security Weekly.
official group for website stuff, and that's website at securityweekly.com.
And it comes to me.
Nice.
Alrighty. So you get to triage all the
Yes, I
vulnerability
get
reports.
to triage all the stuff. It's fine. But what we wanted was a better user experience to get our content. There's a lot of older articles that were buried in the old posts that have now been separated out into an article, so you can go look at all of Carlos Perez's PowerShell articles from way back when. If you're getting into PowerShell, I mean, we tried to clean up a lot of that stuff.
There's still, I'm looking
It looks really nice.
404s, 404s.
The one thing I will say is with the new language on the front page and that type of stuff, I can officially call myself a thought leader.
Yeah,
You are.
you are a thought leader.
You thought so.
Damn it.
You definitely lead some thoughts.
You guys are funny.
What was I going to say? Oh, no more XML RPC API either, which is...
For WordPress?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Convert it
it's
over to
still
the
there.
REST
If you
API.
run WordPress and you configure it, it's still there, but we've moved away from it, which is just, oh, God, that API is...
This looks really cool,
terrible.
guys. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Matt did a great job.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
phase 2,
Yeah.
phase 3 is next, and phase 3 is the new member site. So that's the one I get to work on now that this one's in production. Going to start working on the
website at securityweekly.net
yes,
is what it says.
Website at securityweekly.net.
in
Sam and I
my
set that
notes.
up, so
Okay.
that's where you give me your comments, issues, bugs, whatever.
Vulnerabilities.
Sure.
Because people
those are
tend to
going to
report
you.
those to me like a million different ways. So if we could website at securityweekly.net, if you find vulnerabilities in our website and configuration, just
right
send
there.
them. We'll get them fixed.
Yep.
We have exciting news about our webcast program. Of course, we're partnered with ISC Squared as an official CPE provider, which means every time you attend a webcast with Security Weekly, you get 1 CPE credit. You can register for upcoming webcasts with Preempt, ServiceNow, or Core Security, or find the archive by going to securityweekly.com/on-demand.
No,
And so-
it's even better.
Oh, no, wait.
You go to webcasts in the drop down, registration and on demand. You don't
There you
even
go.
need the forward
Go to the
slashes
website,
anymore.
click webcasts.
Absolutely.
There you go. Navigation is good.
Highly improved.
I did have another, and this another kind of non-security thing, but we are a podcast. And Tyler, I was watching you, like you had headphones on, then you didn't have headphones on, and I know we've got like new hosts that are starting new shows. And so collectively, the team has done a whole bunch of research on like what should we be using for not. I mean, these headsets that all three of us are wearing here in studio are ridiculous, and only because we're here in a studio, and this is what we do we buy these ridiculous headsets that you might see broadcasters and commercial television networks wearing.
And they're not particularly cheap either.
No. And there's like no level up from this other than I think like a custom contract with a company like Bose, like the NFL does. I think that's really the next level up. So these are like around $500 a piece, and really good and stuff. So, but when we travel or we have hosts that are traveling or hosts that even just want a home setup.
Yeah, they're remote.
And they're remote. I want to talk about a couple of different options. The expensive option for that is the Audio-Technica BP-HS1, which is some of the headsets you've seen us wearing in the past.
The one I have at home that I use for BSW.
They're $200 for the headset, $150, right, or $100 for a Scarlett, Focusrite Scarlett Solo or two. Solo's $100, 2i2 is $140. There's some differences in the output, basically, but you get away with the Solo, right? That's the standard. And having done this research again for probably the 6th or 7th, maybe even more times in the past, that's like the de facto standard as best I can tell. So I was like, well, what else is out there? So we've got two other options that we will be testing and hopefully giving feedback on. I found the Audio-Technica ATR2100 USB Cardioid Dynamic. It's both USB and XLR. It's $63.
And has and I was reading Johnny was posting,
it has a
headphone jack in it?
In the microphone.
Mike,
what? And it comes with a stand and a cable. And a volume knob on it.
And
for $63.
And I've heard some of my coworkers that actually use them and say they sound really good.
Yeah, there you go.
So we're going to test it. Johnny's doing the test.
And the other one I'm testing more for travel is a Beyerdynamic MMX2. That's a PC gaming multimedia. It says digital headset, but it's basically an analog headset that plugs into a USB audio device. I also like the pluggable USB audio adapter, which is $9.95. The headset, the Beyerdynamic MMX2, is $34.95. So just if you're looking to get into podcasting or doing Zoom calls or whatever, I thought that might be interest of our listeners to see what we're testing and what collectively 15 years of research into what we should be using for audio gear, right, culminating into some things that we're testing.
Yep.
So,
and that said, I also picked up a HyperX headset for home because I spent so much time on calls.
Yeah.
And I think it was $150. And it plugs in USB and it disconnects, so actual set of headphones, which I could have then plugged into my iPhone and used the same headset from iPhone and it worked beautifully.
Oh, nice.
But of course now it requires the Lightning connector, so I just have a couple of Lightning to headphone connectors hanging around the desk.
For at home for meetings, I use my Plantronics headset, which is USB connected, and then it sits on a stand, comes off. I don't know if it's Bluetooth or what it is, but it's great for Zoom meetings, but it's not high quality for the podcast, which is why I use the Audio-Technica.
Mine is pretty darn high quality gaming type headset, and I had to build a stand for it. It wasn't a big deal. It 2 pieces of PVC pipe, so an end cap, a little piece of PVC pipe, and a T that I drilled 2 holes in the T and screwed it to the side of my desk.
Oh, so you made your own little head? Oh, yeah, because they sell those, on Amazon and stuff.
Yeah, I had the PVC in the shop already, so it was done.
Nice.
Small donation from some skin on his finger.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Occasionally.
All right.
I've gone to a headset that's got noise canceling in it for when I'm doing because sometimes there's background noise and you just want to cut it out.
Yep.
And spent more than $1.
Yeah, I mean that's why the Audio-Technica headsets are so great for the podcast. Right. I have a lot of construction around me where I live, and the guys can't hear it at all. I mean, I'll have trucks outside, beep, beep, beep. They can't hear it. I can hear it, but the microphone doesn't pick it up, and they're fantastic.
That's awesome.
We could do a whole segment on headsets and headphones for sure. Right? It was. We nerd out on that stuff.
All right,
but let's nerd out on some security stuff. Where do you guys want to start?
Do it.
That's a great question. I did add some stories to the wiki.
One
so if nobody
repeat.
refreshed.
Maybe
I had the 10 cybersecurity myths that criminals love. I thought this was kind of interesting, and I think it's. I don't think it's.
It's not one of those typical top 10 lists.
There's some pretty good. I mean, it's stuff that we've heard in the past, right? Like, this can't happen to me. I've got strong passwords. I never browse online in unsafe locations, so I can't get infected, right? Security costs too much. You could do a whole segment on that. My data is not all that important, so it doesn't matter if I get hacked.
Except for the one story of somebody trying to hack a bunch of people to find sexual images and stuff.
The Yahoo guy.
Yeah, we'll save that for later.
I have an antivirus. I don't need anything else.
I mean, the antivirus is so effective, folks.
Some people really think I would know if my computer or phone is infected. That's kind of an interesting one. I mean, those of us that do this for a living know that it's all about detection in this capacity, and that's really hard. Securing the network and computers might not be enough.
It's true.
That is true.
Phishing is not dangerous. I can spot it from a mile away.
False.
Yeah, right. False.
I don't even have a computer. I can't be hacked. This is probably, of this list, my favorite one, because there are people that I've done OSINT on, maybe, perhaps, my friend Bob did, that it's really true. Like, I don't have a computer. I can't be hacked. In fact, some people are like, I don't know how to send, like, the text message thing is too much for them.
Yeah.
So they're like, you got to call me to do business with me or to get a hold of me.
They still use the flip phones?
Yeah. But the interesting part is your friends and family, likely some of them, I mean, not even one of them, like more than one of them likely have a computer and can be hacked. Or at least have an online profile that allows me to gather enough information to be able to attack you in some way.
Yep. Now, maybe not even attack you, but you can still be a victim of cybercrime even though you don't have these types of things. Like, I think about my mom. In her later years, she didn't have a computer.
Mm-hmm.
She had a flip phone that she didn't know how to send text messages on.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't.
Beep, beep.
Yeah, exactly. Which I have, which is an awesome burner phone. She didn't have a smart TV. Trust me, I'm throwing out all of her tube TVs now, and because she needed the big ones, so they weigh like 300 or 400 pounds a piece.
I was going to say that.
Johnny Mark,
freaking heavy, dude.
Yeah. But they have like 300-pound TVs because they're like actual tube TVs. Sony Trinitron flat. Oh yeah,
those were wicked heavy.
They still are wicked heavy. Ask me how I know this. But
the laws of gravity have not changed.
Yeah, but she could still be a victim of cybercrime because stuff from anything she's conducted with businesses, or her information could have been stored elsewhere.
Right.
Like any of the places where she got prescriptions filled at CVS or whatever pharmacies she used.
Stayed at a hotel.
Yeah, stayed at a
went
hotel.
on an airline.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Still there.
Had a credit card.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess I took... Tyler, are you still there?
Yep, I'm here.
So I took this from an angle, like if you're targeting someone to see maybe they've done something wrong, maybe you're doing an investigation, whatever it is, and they're like not using the internet. If you find people in their circle that are using the internet, you can then dig into their information, which will reveal information about that person. And I think this one kind of struck a chord with me in terms of law enforcement or just investigations in general. Tyler, I really want to get your thoughts on this and as to like the risks involved and the things that we can do as security professionals to help basically find bad people that are like, well, I don't have a computer, I don't use the internet, so therefore people can't find the bad things I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of the ways that we target them when we're doing like investigations or we're looking for someone that's, maybe using better OPSEC than normal. It starts a lot with targeting their family, their friends. The hard part about that is from a security standpoint, like us as security professionals, you can't really tell your mom she's not going to post pictures of the grandkids on the internet, right? Like,
right.
That's not really a thing. She's not going to tag you.
You can, but
they're not going to listen.
Yeah.
I mean, when I first started coming, it's a great point, Tyler. When I first started coming on Facebook, some of my family members were like posting all this stuff. and I had to like duck out of Facebook so they wouldn't like tag me and all that stuff. But even if they don't tag me, you can infer relationships in a million different ways.
Right.
So.
Like I love those commercials, like with the old ladies, and they're like, "This is not how that works." And one of the old ladies is like, "Oh, I posted pictures to my wall," and she has thumbtacks and she puts pictures on the wall in her living room.
Yeah.
And I posted a bunch of pictures online, and she's got a bunch of pictures hanging on like the clothesline outside. So that's how it needs to be.
That's how it should be.
I mean, you also take that like a step further, right? Like you connect, maybe you're not on the internet, maybe you don't have a whole social presence, but if you're doing anything, I mean, even as simple as banking, right? You end up connecting to wireless, probably your home wireless, maybe your family's wireless somewhere. You're with your family somewhere, you've connected to the same wireless, you're within the same vicinity as a lot of these people. So all the ad tracking stuff that has the ability to leverage SSID, geolocation, leveraging your ad tracking data, tying that to a mobile phone ID, that then maybe be able to be correlated with, say, SSIDs within range as you're traveling across, even the cellular networks. So all of these are not.
I found it interesting. So I along these lines, I was doing some research, and we had watched a presentation last week by Jesse from Compass, and he was talking about the various APIs on these IoT devices. So, and one of his devices was a Google Home. So now I'm a little curious, because largely I've kind of ignored some of the IoT stuff because it was just as basically same shit, different day in terms of security, right? But this kind of piqued my interest as I do a lot of programming that interfaces with APIs today. So I'm like, all right, now I'm curious. So I'm like, I got these Google Home devices in my home network, and I'm like, well, I researched them. Like, they have a local API. I'm like, that's kind of cool. Like, what can I get from that? Turns out someone's already done the reverse engineering for me. Sweet. But it's 2 years old. So a lot of the calls now do require authentication. One of the interesting things I found is not just Google Home devices. So the first thing I found was NVIDIA Shield devices listen on the same port, 8008, with the same APIs, with largely what I found the same API calls are still valid. And you can query these devices and get a list of neighboring Wi-Fi networks, for example, right? Then you can also, if you have, before you used to be able to do this without authentication, which is frightening. Now you need authentication. And I'm not sure what the authentication is. My guess is if it's IoT, it's probably not that hard to figure out what I need to do to authenticate. But so I get a list of the surrounding Wi-Fi networks. I can then issue an API command to that port and have it connect to a different Wi-Fi network. So that means, to go back to this story, maybe you do have a computer and Wi-Fi, but you're super locked down. Now I just hack into your neighbor's house, and now I can access your Wi-Fi from your neighbor's house. That's, to me, that style of attack is really cool. That doesn't require me as an attacker to be in physical proximity of you or deploy a device or even gain access to something like a PC where you have a monitor and keyboard and maybe some software that or maybe you turn it off every day, right? Now I just need access to maybe your phone and pivot into some IoT device, and then I can pivot into your neighbor's house. To me, that's really cool.
And scary.
And scary at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, there's data sets that we leverage that have, the ability to correlate these mass quantities of, disparate information. And we bring those into an in-house solution that we then can correlate even further, anything from a simple cellular phone to a probing SSID, or say you're at an airport and we know you tweeted you were eating at this place and inside this restaurant. Well, we can, look at some of those data sets where we're looking at ad tracking data, looking at the devices probing within that time frame, and then start to correlate phone numbers, IDs, and track, both forward and back.
And of course, you've got a super complex AI and machine learning algorithm that does that, right? No.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely called
Tyler.
John and Bob.
And what I've realized recently is working even within our own data sets that you don't need that fancy machine learning. Really just some relational databases will do, right? To be able to do that correlation, it's really just using technology that's, multiple decades old, right? I don't know to pretend to know when the first relational database was put forward and created,
IBM
right?
DB2 probably.
But it was a long time. Probably, like, Lee probably remembers the first databases, right, Lee?
Oh, of course I do.
Yeah,
You want to talk
COBOL.
about DB? Do you want to talk about DB2 or IDMSR?
Right? I worked
Right.
with DB2, but way after it was in the 90s. When was DB2 was probably what? 70s? Late 60s, maybe?
Well, how about, do you remember ISAM databases in Fortran?
I do not. I'm not that old, Lee.
Nope, not quite that old.
Extended single access methods. Very similar to Berkeley DB in Unix.
Right. And it's and so Tyler,
So
I mean,
it's,
to get
and,
back
and
to-
it's a good thing Lee's reading from Wikipedia because he's clearly not that old.
But I mean, to tie this data together, right,
I
is not
started when I
using
was a
any
kid.
kind of new technology, right? You're just bringing in
No,
data
it's-
sets and correlating them.
Yeah, it's a lot of the old school way of doing, hard analyst work where you're just correlating disparate data sets. The technique and where you get the data may change a little bit here and
Sure.
there, but for the most part, it's just the people doing the analyst stuff that's the real magic, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I can do it in Excel with some macros, I bet.
But but to your point, Matt, what I realized, right, is that Excel is really just like a glorified database, right? I mean, it's
It is.
tables
You
and
can-
columns and rows.
Oh, you can create a data set in Excel.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then you can do all kinds of interesting pivots on that data and other things and create some macros. There we go. Oh.
Don't
got
say
Tyler's
those
picture back.
management type things. You'll scare him.
Look, Tyler just revealed himself
Woohoo.
And he's frozen, so it's
behind
even
the
better.
scenes. Behind the scenes, look.
It's even
Whoa.
better.
So, going back to something you said, Paul,
And I
I
lost
heard the
it.
other day, machine learning requires Python. AI requires PowerPoint.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that was a good definition.
It's funny.
Where do we want to go next?
This FBI article is interesting. We were talking about this earlier, and it will be on the next segment with the pre-record with Stuart. Is the FBI says, do not pay ransomware demands. Stop encouraging cyber criminals to target others. Oh no, we were talking about it on our roundtable that we pre-recorded.
Yeah,
were
we
talking
did
about
so much
ransomware.
content today, man.
I know.
I lost track of where
I
we
lost,
talked
I
about.
lost track.
We did a roundtable with Dave from the Cyberwire.
Right.
Yeah.
Which will air later. But we were talking to ransomware, right? And we've seen this trend shift a little bit. When Florida, there was a number of cities in Florida that were being held for ransomware, and they were paying the ransoms. And they were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, and cyber insurance was covering the ransom, and they were paying them. And then we saw some really interesting ransomware cases in New Bedford, Mass, and down in Texas.
I tell Matt it's New Bedford.
New Bedford.
There's no R.
No, New Bedford.
Right, you drop the R in the middle of a word and you add it at the end of a word.
Correct.
Yes.
Like dater.
Ideer.
Yeah,
Right.
Dear,
dater.
yes.
Yeah.
And even better, when you start talking PCI.
You mean even
it's-
better.
It's card holder data?
Cod holder
Dater.
data.
Card holder data.
Dater. Cod holder dater.
Yeah, you just move it around. Just shift
Yeah.
right.
Where'd you put
Anyway.
the
Shift the
God?
bits.
And so, but then when we saw these attacks in Massachusetts and Texas, these ransoms went way up. They were like in the millions of dollars. And both of those specific attacks, they didn't pay. They decided to recover. And so now you have this article coming out from the FBI saying, don't pay the ransomware because what you're doing is you're just encouraging the criminals not only do more of this, but potentially even demand more for these ransomware attacks,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
See, I think this is the next, or this is the thing that we're dealing with. I think in, really early 2000s, maybe even late 90s, we were dealing with email worms and email viruses, right?
Yep.
There was the I love you and
Melissa,
Anna
and SQL
Kournikova,
Slammer.
those kind of. Then those very quickly transformed, especially in 2003 timeframe, into worms, network worms, right? That ran around and exploited those things. And there was a big hoopla. A lot of people lost a lot of money, a lot of downtime, right? I don't know what iteration there was after that, but now today
APTs.
it's APTs.
It was APTs.
Whatever it is.
The
But now
APTs.
today it's ransomware, right? And that's what they're doing. And I think that this is just an evolutionary. What is Tyler doing? He's all over the place. Tyler, you there?
You've met Tyler before, right?
I have.
This is not
This is
unusual.
this is Tyler.
Yeah. This is vintage Tyler.
He's
right here.
like wiring up his video and audio like on the fly during the show.
About 8 times.
Yep. Well, like I said, vintage Tyler. Totally vintage Tyler. Yeah.
Ha.
So how you back?
So I mean, this is just the thing right now is ransomware,
Right.
Right. This is really scary. I mean, this place is going out of business because of ransomware.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's pretty scary. Anyway.
Well, there was a interesting story the other day about a follow-up to the Baltimore ransomware, where they were basically saying, you guys didn't know where your data were and therefore weren't backing it up. And I thought that was actually an interesting point of view, that our primary protection for ransomware is good incremental backups. And if you're not backing all the crap up, what the hell, right?
Right. No, it's exactly right. We were talking about that.
Is backup really the silver bullet here, though?
That seems like a
It's
reactive
one of-
stance, though, right? That's crap.
Well,
I mean, I haven't really done
Now,
enterprise. So let's talk about enterprise. Or maybe not. All right, let's talk about enterprise. Enterprise level backups I haven't done in a really long time, right? But if you gain access to a system, it likely has, again, I think this goes back to app user data and trust between services and systems. I have access to potentially the backups as well, or maybe not. I mean, there's a lot of variables here.
Now that said, if you're, the last time I dealt with enterprise backups, we were still putting stuff on tape, and you were either storing your copy on tape in-house and or off-site. And that said, if you're getting hit ransomware for millions of dollars, think about the cost of pulling all those tapes back from your offsite storage and restoring that. What is that going to cost?
Wait, do people still use tapes for backups?
I don't think.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
they?
they
Most
do,
of the time,
but
it's in
less and
it's in
less.
the cloud.
Well, let's put it this way: if they weren't, Iron Mountain would be out of business.
Right.
Oh, paper record storage, but still, Iron Mountain invested a lot of money in tape storage and individual tape stuff. I bet there's still people using tape out there for long term.
We were talking earlier that
Is it still tape or
ransomware.
is it USB? Like, it wouldn't it be easier to go to a USB backup storage rather than
LTO4 is still a thing, isn't it? Lee, I can hear your voice in there, right?
Yeah, of course it is. They're still putting backups to tape, although more and more, like Tyler was saying, they're encrypting it and putting it in cloud storage somewhere, probably a low-cost cloud storage. Really, bringing the tapes back isn't the pain in the ass. The pain in the ass is recovering from tapes.
Yeah.
There's usually a
Yes.
closer online storage you start with before you go to the box.
Right. So services like Glacier and others are meant to be a way to do that in the cloud. It's
But you need to-
slower,
you
but
need
then
to-
you have to be able to bring it back.
You need to be able to preserve. So, technologically, is this like really an easy thing to combat ransomware? Like, basically, I need to make a backup, encrypt it, and basically make it read-only, and make it so even if you gain access to those systems, you can't overwrite it. But then there needs to be some authentication to be able to pull that backup back and restore it, right?
Well, the model is more of a continuous backup model where I've got the backup from 615, 617, 618, just containing what changed. And if I got hit at 617, then I want to go to the backup at 616 or before.
Right.
And
So this is a solvable problem.
It is a solvable
because I
problem.
realize that ransomware has taken over my systems because I can't use them anymore. It's a pretty instantaneous thing. It's not a stealthy thing at all.
Yeah.
Right. It's instant user feedback. It's like, okay, I got to go back before this point in time and I can restore.
And more importantly, not only do you need to restore from like the 615 backup, you need to restore from the 615 backup, take it offline, and solve the root cause.
I agree, Larry.
Right.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah, you got to fix the root
or you're going to
cause.
be doing this all the time.
And what we
So
were
if you don't need an advanced backup solution to combat ransomware.
No,
You
those
need
solutions exist today. Code 4, what is
Code
it?
42.
Code 42.
Yeah, you need
and-
a good backup system, nothing advanced, right? And then, like Larry said, you also need a process that when a security event like ransomware happens, you need the ability to restore, pull yourself offline, and if you don't have the talent in-house, call someone and say, before I put this back online, like,
Geek
tell
Squad.
me, like how their ransomware. I mean, statistics are out there about ransomware, how it's, a handful of vulnerabilities basically in Windows systems that represents the vast majority of ransomware. So fix those issues.
Yeah, the other thing
The other
big
use
problem
case
with
in the
that, though.
Baltimore story, though, was that there were things like, say the authoritative copy of the financial records are on Matt's laptop, and we're not backing up Matt's laptop.
Well, there's a fucking problem
Yeah.
right
Well,
there.
there's your
Pardon my
problem.
fucking French.
There's your problem right there.
Well, there's your problem right there. Here's your sign. That's what happens when you have
But that's
shadow
one of the things we
IT.
found.
Yep.
The big problem
Gotta have
becomes
it all backed up.
Hold on, Tyler.
you end up paying. So the problem the companies end up having is you're paying per gigabyte to back this stuff up, and you're really making a decision or a business decision around what data you feel is critical. For something like a lot of these counties that are getting hit, or the state government stuff that's getting popped, you're talking about a bunch of, a small budget with a lot of data that is almost all critical, but they can only archive so much of that and back so much of that up. So some of that's going up to the cloud, some of that's going to on-site storage, and then the rest of that is, usually a configuration error where you may have court records on there that get encrypted, and that becomes a big issue.
Tyler, I'd argue that, and again, it's been a hot minute since I've looked at any of the pricing, but I'd argue that the pricing for cloud storage for that data, especially if you're doing it rotationally like you were with tapes, is probably pretty comparative gigabyte-wise cloud storage versus what you'd pay a third party to come and pick up your tapes once a day.
Yeah, I mean, Glacier's pretty
way cheaper.
Yeah,
so
Matt's got a
damn
great
cheap.
point with Glacier, and I think it's the kind of the unknown player in this space, right? Because you can store a ton, and if you're not accessing it, your costs are pretty low.
Pretty low, and it's because it's not real-time storage. It's meant for backup, and it's pretty inexpensive.
Because we've talked, I mean, you think about the past 15 years, how much content we've created, right?
Yeah.
And we don't need to access
I had to
it all the time.
recategorize it all. Yes, I know.
Like we may run a script, like I'm writing for our software and go, like these 3 episodes across all 600, like we need to just pull those and refresh them here or there, right? And so what I really think is that when we talk about the departments of education, municipalities, state, so county and city and town government, state government, I think that the federal government should have a program so that the states can take advantage of that program, and then the cities and towns can take advantage of the state program, and it trickles down so that the infrastructure and education, right? So the infrastructure for this country, and apply this model to other countries, the infrastructure for your country can take advantage of a good, what we've established, a good backup solution, so that if you get ransomware, you at least 98% or 90+% can restore without issue, right? I mean, then there's still a cost that when you do get hit, you either need to have the expertise or call in expertise to do forensics, figure out why you got hacked. But I think a program like that on a country-by-country scale could be very effective in reducing, just like we did with email, just like we did with all the worms. It took us time to rally around and create a system that just made that attack not worthwhile, so they move on to the next thing. And then, of course, we just basically open up Pandora's box all over again with the next one.
So on that point, a bill has been passed in the House, and it just passed the Senate, I think, this week, where DHS, one of their programs, is actually slated to actually help out the states to do aspects of this to help the municipalities, et cetera. It's got to go to conference and reconcile between the two bills, but we could see some legislation coming out to actually address aspects of this.
And the president has veto power.
Yeah,
on
but
this bill,
I think
correct?
but I think he would sign
I
this
don't see
bill.
why he would.
Yeah,
I don't see why you wouldn't.
I think
sign
this one.
this.
I think it's coming out. I think it's one of the DHS programs, from what I read. And if that bill came together and got signed into law, that would give some resources to the states and then the
That's going to take time
municipalities.
to trickle through. Sure,
Correct. But that might be one way to thwart this. The other thing we talked about earlier today was you have to treat ransomware like a natural disaster almost. And we started talking about business continuity and disaster recovery planning.
Sure.
Yes.
We've forgotten about BCP and DRP. And
Which
a lot
is
of organizations.
Which is a shame.
It
It
is.
is.
And
Well, because September 11th, I think, really sparked those conversations around disaster recovery.
And the sad part is we
now almost 20 years later, right, Larry?
We tend to do this, and then it's cyclical. It's cyclical.
exactly. And so if you think about a natural disaster like a hurricane, and you lose a facility, ransomware is almost the same. Right? And so having good business continuity and disaster recovery plans in place could actually help you prepare for a ransomware attack better than not having one at all, right? Which includes backups and the ability to restore and understanding your minimum downtimes and all this other stuff. We've almost forgotten about that as a core discipline to security.
And honestly, I think there's so many organizations, even as a core discipline of security, in the last 20 years, I don't think they saw it as a core discipline of security. It was business continuity and not a security function, but can be used so much for security. When I was back in healthcare, that was part of my job responsibility as the manager of IT security. I was also responsible for their DR BCP.
Because it's about resiliency.
Yeah.
And that includes disasters or security events.
Recovery
or a
is
lot of
one
things.
of the domains in the NIST cybersecurity framework.
Yep.
But it's a non-sexy domain, and we don't focus on it a lot.
I would actually challenge to just past that. Like, why are we looking at this as a reactive thing? Like, most of these ransomwares are happening because we don't start with the fundamentals. Like, why do we not have like host-to-host, host-based firewalls or segmentation rules so these don't spread? Like, how is this stuff accessing, core data that should be only accessible on like a database port?
That's
not like
a
SMB?
20-year-old problem, Tyler, and we still haven't solved it. We've been talking about this for 20 plus years, and here we are. We're still at the same point.
Yep. I see this back, and this is exactly a 20-year-old problem. Then, to draw a parallel, I was talking with a friend today, and he said that they're undertaking a IPv6 migration project in their organization, and their estimated time frame is between 15 and 30 years.
What?
I shit you not.
But now the FBI says don't pay ransomware demands.
Yep. Because you're encouraging other ransomware attacks, and you're going to see the price go up like we saw in some of these attacks a few weeks ago. They're saying don't pay.
You remember when the first ransomware attacks were like, please send me one Bitcoin. And a Bitcoin was like $300?
Now
See, this is the
Now
real
they're
problem
millions.
with this. Yeah, the real problem is you have the cybersecurity insurance that is covering all of these ransomware attacks, and you're required by like Percy, for state and federal stuff, you're required by your insurance to carry a certain level of that.
Right.
But these people are negotiating. Like, I don't know if many people, I don't even know if this is public, but I'll call them out. A lot of these people are negotiating as part of the team that goes in and helps as underneath of the cybersecurity insurance, and they're paying to get some of this data back. And they're just adding it as a line item invoice and saying that, we're not negotiating, we're not paying, and technically they're not by all intents and purposes, but
they are.
They are paying for certain bits of data. So that's why the encouragement for a lot of this ransomware to continue going is there's high insurance values.
What's interesting is if you've ever read the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
FBI's top international hostage negotiator.
Yes.
Right? He's like, we don't pay the ransom. Never. If someone's kidnapped and he's going to negotiate with terrorists, he's like, paying is not an option. You know why? Because once you pay, whoever they're holding hostage is dead, right?
And you'll
no
always
use.
be expected to pay.
Right. It's so.
Yeah, you set a precedent you can't get away from,
Right.
and that's what's happening. And Tyler, to your point, cyber insurance policies will pay out a certain amount. In the case of New Bedford,
New Bedford.
the ransom was so high, their cyber insurance policy didn't cover it, and they counter-offered with
Like
what their
200?
cyber.
Was it 200,000?
It was like 400,000.
Okay.
They countered at 400,000 because that's what their policy would pay out. And in the attackers turned it down, and that's when they walked away.
But I don't understand that. You're an attacker, and you're like, look, I'm asking for, what was it?
$2.5 million.
$2.5 million. Okay. So they counter at 400,000. So now your option is I either take 0 or 400,000. Why wouldn't you take 400,000? Are they trying to set
There's
precedent
another
that they're
option.
not going to negotiate?
I guess.
I think that's really
How would
social-
anybody know?
it's true.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. What incentive has the hacker got to give you the keys? I mean, you're going to take the payment before you deliver the keys. So and it's all anonymized. So what the hell?
Right.
Take the 400,000 and say screw you on giving the encryption keys back.
Right.
Yep.
But we know who we could go ask because the Germans just captured a dark web data center in Germany.
Oh, this one.
Funny you mentioned that.
Lee sent me this, and like that's my kind of data center.
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
old NATO
Bunker.
That was pretty interesting. So if we want to know, we can go ask these guys. Like, hey, why didn't you take the 400,000 and call it a day?
Right.
Because there's like 7 people in custody that are
and
believed
part
to
of
be
it is
connected
disruption too.
Yeah,
part of
it
it's
is.
like, yeah, money's great and all, but now that we're disrupting another nation state's infrastructure, that's cool too, right?
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
them,
That's true.
not cool
The,
for us.
the downside of them taking over the data center, speculation is that it was just a small inconvenience till they relocated those services in another equivalent data center.
Mm.
Yeah,
Most of
basically,
the
we took
folks
down
that had the data center
their
were out of it.
disaster recovery.
Right?
They have a good DR plan in place to make sure that they
And
survive.
what was the hosting?
Well, I'm sure they do.
Who was the hosting? Bulletproof
Yes.
is a
Right,
hosting
Bullet-
provider, right? Kind of like DigitalOcean kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this sort
Yeah.
of this sort of reminds me of that whole Nation of Sealand thing. That
Yes.
that we got this data center in a bunker underground, but who's providing internet service to those folks? Just click, deal with the providers.
Was Sealand that like someone created their own country
Yeah,
on
so
an island off the
Sealand,
coast?
Sealand was
yeah.
was a World War II outpost off the coast of England.
Yes.
That was in the international waters. That Prince Roy went and took over. Was it Prince
It
Roy?
was like a loophole. They
Yeah, either way,
basically
yeah.
create
And
their own country.
and
right?
like the Isle of Man.
Yeah, and they wanted to turn it into a data haven in the 90s. But the problem is that the only way they could get internet there was through a provider from the UK that could lay cable. And the UK government said, yeah, these guys declared independence. You can't deal with them. So they literally couldn't get internet connection there. So they had to find wireless ways of doing it to other countries.
Yeah, now
And
they
that was-
they probably launched their own satellite and then
right?
did it that way.
well, yeah, the data haven thing didn't take off because, well, they had a fire, and well, you're a mile offshore, and well,
It was only a mile offshore?
yeah,
Wow.
Only a mile.
only a mile. But and then they Russians they took in a Russian business partner, and then the former English colonists, the English colonists went off site, and their Russian business partner was there and took it over. And they had to storm the country and took it back over with a single shotgun. Seriously.
You've read a lot about this, Larry.
Well, so yeah, I've read a lot about this.
Because it was his country.
yeah, it's smart country, man. So right here,
You're
here,
There's a citizenship card coming out right now.
right here in the wallet is I have my identity card from the Principality of Sealand.
That's
I shit you not. It's also not legal
I
to.
forgot you had that.
It's not legal to fly domestically with this because I tried to use it as my ID to get on the plane at Reagan International Airport,
well.
and I was
All
denied.
right.
Well,
I gotta
there's,
know why.
There's
You
a bunch
tried-
of driver's licenses that are soon not going to be valid to fly domestically either.
Exactly. So I was flying out of Reagan for a SANS conference. I was flying home, and I had it. And I'm like, I wonder, can I use it? So I get to the TSA line, and there's nobody there. There's literally no one behind me. There's no one in front of me. I'm the only one there
At Reagan.
at Reagan.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never happened.
Carry
And and I was flying south. No,
No,
it was
probably
US, it was at the
United.
time
Probably
it was US.
American.
It was US.
American. Yeah.
US Air.
Which
US
was
American.
US Air, now American.
Yep.
Yep.
And a younger TSA agent checking IDs. She's probably in her late 20s, early 30s. And I handed it to her, and she looks at it and she says, "Wow, I've never seen one of these. Where is this from?" I said, "Oh, this is my identity card from Sealand. Sealand is an independent nation off the coast of the UK."
I've never heard this story. I'm very fascinated.
And she says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I can't take a foreign identification card other than Canada or Mexico."
Interesting.
I said, "Oh, that's cool. I got my driver's license right here."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I presented it. She looked at it and was like, "This is really cool."
But I can't take it.
But I can't take it.
You should try it if you're ever flying home from London, see if they'll take it.
That was a
in the
better
UK.
response than, please come with me, sir, and wait in
Yes.
this room.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
We're going to
And
give you the glove treatment.
Remove all of your clothing in a room
Exactly.
with a single, what would Josh Wright say, a single folding chair with just a single light bulb hanging from,
Yes.
from the corner. Yeah,
Yes.
Well, it's not a folding chair. The chair's built into the wall.
Yes, it's concrete. It's
Yeah, it
Ask
folds
Tyler-
out from the wall.
Ask Tyler how he knows this.
Sounds like you're speaking from experience,
not
Tyler.
random. Yeah, and it's not a random check for me anymore, unfortunately.
Interesting.
Pre-check would
No.
be really nice for as much as I fly.
Some airlines charge extra for that.
Right?
And some of them give it to you for free for flying way too much, like me.
Right?
Well,
Not only do they cover my pre-check, they cover my clear now. Because the pre-check lines have gotten so crazy that United said, if you are at this level and higher, we will pay your clear pass.
Really?
Yeah, so they cover mine for free now.
So does Delta.
Wow.
That's nice. It's really
See,
nice.
but you have to be able to get through ClearPass and qualify for that to work.
Well, my fingerprints actually work, Tyler. I don't know about yours.
Oh, they work. They work.
They used to.
No, they still work. They're still your fingerprints. That's the problem.
Now, it's interesting. Here's a second study of IoT devices that basically says everything is vulnerable. And
Well, we
insecure.
covered this on ESW. We
But
had
this is a different. So, Cyber ITL completed a large-scale survey of software security practice in the IoT environment by looking at the compiled software, hence 4,956 firmware versions.
finite
On
state.
average, updates were more likely to remove hardening features than add them. Within the 15-year data set, there have been no positive trends for any vendor. MIPS is the most common CPU architecture, although there's, at my last count, around a dozen or so
Versions,
validate this of MIPS processor architecture, roughly in that general ballpark. There are a large number of duplicate binaries across multiple vendors, indicating a common build system or tool chain, which, if you've ever tried to build anything that has to do with MIPS, if someone's figured it out, you're using that shit because it sucks big time.
oh, wait.
And then who do we
It
interview?
was Finite State. Matt Wickhouse from
Matt
Finite State.
Wickhouse.
They did.
I like Matt. He's awesome. Yeah.
They did a whole analysis of all the Huawei gear. Almost 9,000 firmware samples. It was somewhere close to almost 9 million.
The amazing part
binaries.
is I ran
it
through
was
my
crazy.
list with Matt, which is very similar, I would imagine, to everyone, Larry, Tyler, and everyone who does like offensive IoT stuff, right? We all have those lists, like basically authentication, validating firmware updates, insecure protocols, are the top three,
open
right?
source.
Open source vulnerable
vulnerabilities.
components,
Yep.
buffer overflows in binaries that aren't open source but created by
storage
a
of
company.
credentials and clear text on the devices.
Web
Are they
app-
doing it dynamic or static too? Like,
They're
Yes,
doing
both.
static and dynamic.
Yes.
They built an engine to ingest the firmware and analyze it.
Just like
There's a great report out there.
It's
if you
not
go to,
Tactical Network Solutions now, who's the Data Tribe company.
they just took funding. Refirm.
Terry
Refirm Labs.
and
Oh.
Refirm.
Craig
Refirm Labs.
Hefner
Refirm.
and Terry something that I can't. I'm sorry, Terry.
It's Refirm.
It
They're
is
awesome.
Refirm. They just took another $2 million in seed
Yeah.
money on October 1st.
And
Yeah,
Finite,
a couple days
and
ago.
a very small number of companies in that space
Right.
doing that
There's
research.
like 3
basically
of them.
coming to the same conclusion, basically following the script that I just outlined for, and basically finding that everything is vulnerable in the IoT space.
Yes.
It'd be interesting to see what the comparison of all the Huawei stuff was.
It's
to
Huawei,
Cisco.
Larry.
So,
Huawei.
Sorry.
Huawei.
The
That's a throwback.
the comparison of the Huawei stuff to Cisco.
2 to 8x more than other similar gear in their based on their report.
Interesting.
A lot of vulnerabilities, a lot of backdoors. 2 to 8 times more. You go to
Cisco has
finitestate.io. It's a free download report.
Cisco has their
Yeah.
issues though, but I tell you what, there's
But if you think
at
about
least, but every,
But
every other,
if you think about the time when Huawei allegedly stole Cisco's code and then
Sure.
did their own fork,
Right.
the Cisco
Oh, I go-
Talos team is amazing. But
yes,
Cisco product security, every other week they're fixing some vulnerabilities. Now you could look at that two ways, and I think the first way that I'll talk about is wrong in that Cisco has lots of vulnerabilities. Like, no, we're hearing about them, because they're fixing them.
Right,
That's a good thing.
And something that we talked about a long time ago that I still see is the case is where are these vulnerabilities in the Cisco stuff being discovered? They're typically being credited to their internal QA teams.
Yeah.
Because the possibilities for configuration options on these devices are so massive, and that it requires these totally incongruous configuration things that should really never happen to cause a reload, because they're doing fuzzing significantly after the fact, even after the devices have been released. And we've talked about that for a really
My
long
assessment
time with
is
Cisco.
We talked about it today on our
largely
webcast.
Cisco's got their act together.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not to say there aren't vulnerabilities that maybe they don't know about that
Right.
threat actors are using. Because the other problem is their threat landscape is so large
Massive.
that's inevitable, right?
But they are 1/8 to 1/2 of Huawei.
Really?
Yep.
Because Huawei's on the consumer side rather than more Cisco on the enterprise side?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Huawei
Huawei's
was
got a lot of enterprise accounts.
Huawei was touted as
Outside
enterprise
the U.S.?
to the
Yeah.
U.S. No, to the U.S. government.
Really?
Yeah. Why do you think the U.S. government can't purchase Huawei gear?
Yeah.
Because the U.S. government was purchasing Huawei gear
Oh,
for
interesting.
enterprise.
Yep. And
Yeah.
so, this is just another of these reports. This is broader than what we covered on ESW yesterday.
Is that a
Paul,
cost-saving thing because they can manufacture it cheaper in China?
Yep.
Basically, is
Oh
that
my
what it
gosh,
boils
by
down to?
far.
Like, I'm
Yep.
not
Yeah.
looking into this too deep or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
you just
it's
shove it
very-
into a sweatshop and they're cranking the
shove it
stuff
into a
out.
sweatshop in
come on.
China, and they can produce gear at half the cost of
Wow.
what Cisco can, right?
Yeah.
Well, if your government subsidizes you, you can produce things a lot more cheaply.
Especially when you peg your currency to the U.S. dollar and always make sure it's in an advantageous position, which is what the Chinese do.
That doesn't happen.
Is that like
No, it
kind of
doesn't happen.
kind of similar to Cuban cigars? Like, basically, you have a job with the government, and that's you make a very small amount of money per hour to produce cigars, and everything is subsidized by the government. Or
Pretty much.
is that more socialist?
It's
than-
but Cuban is a socialist
It
nation.
is, yeah, okay.
And that's why you
And
see the same
so
thing
is
in
China.
China.
China is a similar.
Russia
model
does
in that.
aspects of this as well, not as much as they used to. But China is huge in doing that. It's why Huawei is one of their biggest enterprises. Is also flooded with a bunch of government people.
because their costs are low.
They're
they're
getting subsidized
selling-
from the government.
right,
They're
yeah.
selling overseas. They're making money hand over fist.
They're employing millions of people or whatever.
Almost 1 billion.
Get out.
Not Huawei
No,
by themselves.
No,
No. The government, Chinese government.
Chinese government.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. I find it fascinating. Anyway.
So, one of the interesting things in that study, I didn't realize there was as much proliferation of MIPS CPUs. It said, it's the most common architecture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've used MIPS
it is.
back along. I thought MIPS was dead and gone. Stick a fork in it. Then I started
No.
googling what
MIPS
they
is
use them
the
for.
most
Holy crap!
most common.
They're still
I
going.
would
Right behind ARM.
Yep.
challenge me on this one. MIPS, in my assessment, is the most common processor for IoT
Yep.
processor architecture. Now,
Yeah.
that encompasses a very large family of
Right,
MIPS,
of MIPS processors.
I would put ARM probably second, and then Intel-based architectures probably third in IoT devices.
Yeah.
Do you largely agree?
And I would say, if you're looking at the percentages, Intel a distant third. Like
Yeah. I
if
agree.
If you're
Yeah,
talking
it's MIPS and
percentages,
ARMs
if you're
have
talking
the majority.
percentages, it's
Yeah.
like 60, 30, 10. Intel.
There's a lot of overhead and optimization that MIPS does for routing and firewall stuff that
Yeah.
come into play as well. So not just cost of the actual chips themselves, but the
Well,
their
they're-
optimization for the platform.
and they're multifunction, right? Because I can get a MIPS chip that does my CPU, it does my LAN or wired Ethernet, as well as my wireless processing all on one
Yeah,
chip.
system
and
on
it's,
chip.
again, manufactured in China, and I can get it cheap, and I can put it in my router, and I can sell it on Amazon for $49.99 or whatever.
You got
ARM
a couple in your Kotan firewalls at one of
yeah.
them. Phil,
And,
too.
Exactly.
ARM is now very similar type of thing. If you think about your Raspberry Pi type architecture,
Yep.
With those
Raspberry
with the
Pi
Broadcom chipsets,
It's
those
definitely
are
up
all
the game of
are
ARM,
Yep.
which I think is good. I don't know. I find ARM to be a little more stable
Here you go
than
right
a lot
here.
of these MIPS.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree? Like ARM to me is a little more stable and reliable than some of the MIPS
Absolutely.
architectures, right?
ARM right there. I mean,
Is that a Pi Zero?
that's a Pi Zero W.
Yep.
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 Ooh, it's the W.
Yeah, it's a W.
What's the
yeah.
W?
Well,
It
yeah,
says
the
W
Wi-Fi,
Wi-Fi?
with
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. Yeah,
Wi-Fi.
and Lee, I found I could order these on on Amazon, and I didn't have the one device per order restriction. I ordered 5 of them,
Whoa.
and I could actually
Look
do
at
the
you.
I could do the drop down to 20, but I really only needed
Nice.
2, so I ordered 5.
Now, how small a display?
That
could we
actually
get
makes a
to
lot
go
of
with
sense
that?
for you.
Well,
Larry.
wait, how small of a display? Well, let me show you.
Funny,
You can-
funny. I asked.
Funny you
Now, wait,
ask.
so I'm just curious now. Raspberry Pi Zero W.
Yep.
What's your cost and what's some of the functionality that's included with that?
So these were $20 because I got the official case with it. That's the way I could order it.
Mhm.
But they're under $10. $7 to $10 a piece.
And it's an ARM.
ARM-based processor and reasonable ARM-based processor as well. If you think about so we had the Raspberry Pi 1 and 2, you're probably right around the 2 level, which is
Interesting.
still very, very serviceable.
Very capable.
I have
But
Raspberry
that's smaller
Pi
than a 2 in footprint
by about
size.
a quarter.
Yeah.
By about
Yeah.
a quarter
Yeah.
size. And here's an e-ink display for one of those devices, and it is in fact the exact same size as the Raspberry Pi Zero W.
Ho 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 ho.
Yeah.
That and the Bluetooth keyboard.
And he's hacking.
Yes.
At the very least,
Just
scroll-
hopefully not naked.
Scrolling SSIDs of what's in range.
So
on a little-
the reason why I bought these is a project out there. It's I can't remember the name of it, but it is effectively you put this on the header, and it's a Wi-Fi hacking tool
Right.
that you power with a battery in the sides. And I'll dig that project name up right now because that's why
That's
I bought this
awesome.
stuff. And I
That is
want
awesome.
I want to say it's from the same folks that did BetterCap.
Okay.
Ooh.
Stand by. I will have that name for you. So please continue, and I will.
Yeah. So
We shall verklempt while you
Yeah.
search Google.
But what about? Did you catch? You remember the OMG Lightning cable that came out at DEF CON this year?
It was out a little bit before that, but that was sort of readily
and
available.
There's still press covering it as if it's something new. And I know Kevin Mitnick was kind of attached to that whole project. I think it's very interesting. I kind of confused of why it's garnering so much attention now.
Well,
as
it's
we kinda
because
know about it,
because Hack5 is putting it in their store to buy it for $49.
Yeah, because it's readily available.
I'll tell you why it's such a risk, Paul. And I actually did an internal and a talk at kind of a private conference around it. It's one of those
like
things.
internal exam or like what?
No, like internal to the federal
Yes.
government, he can't disclose who
You'll
it
feel a
was.
little
Or a
pressure
private
kind of
or a
exam?
private company.
So an internal exam. Okay.
So the cable itself poses, I think, the intro to a real big problem, which is going to become we're going to have to adopt a zero trust model, and not a zero trust model of all of the software, all the hardware that's coming as a full computer. But now are we going to have to adopt a zero trust model of our Ethernet cables that are getting shipped from your $1.99 Amazon store, or all of your charging cables? Are we building botnets now that can start hooking phones and eavesdropping? And so something that is innocuous and looks so much, it's hard to distinguish whether or not it's a real cable or not. That has now put the paranoia and the real risk out into pretty much everything. At this point, are we trusting HDMI cables, which have the same kind of capability? Are we trusting our charging cables for our phone? I think that's just the start of what's going to become a bigger issue for like the zero trust model. And then are we going to, as a corporation, are we going to have a policy that does not allow your end users to bring a charging cable to work?
Right. We were because we were fighting
these are problems.
BYOD. Now we're talking about BYOC, bring your own cable, right? Because this has an embedded tiny Wi-Fi transceiver that can operate as an access point or a wireless client. When the victim plugs it into their computer, an attacker with radio distance can connect to the cable with a mobile app and use it to manipulate the computer. It's a pretty interesting attack vector.
And they come with a little like a remote. You can use your phone like with an app on your phone, or they have a remote. I've got one right here that it's phenomenally and really well built. It's hard to tell unless you dissect it.
So the question is,
I mean,
we've been telling users
go ahead, Lee.
don't trust things. I mean, does it bypass the you have to trust it kind of actions?
But
Or
I
can it-
think
will it work without having
for
to trust it?
charging though, I think, and it's hard because now we need more kind of stuff in our hardware in our arsenal. If you're just charging something, a great solution to this is you've got something that sits between the device or electrical outlet that's supplying power and the cable that only lets power flow through, right? And those are readily available today. I don't think they're very mainstream or widespread, largely because the threat until now hasn't really been out there. But
what's your threat now?
The caveat to that, for me, if I think about when I need data from my phone, is when I go into my car and I want to listen to, I'm a Spotify user. When I go into my car, I want to stream Spotify on my way to work and listen to my music. Or I want to stream an audiobook or a podcast. Now it needs access to data, and that's where they're going to get people.
now
'cause
it
there's
takes
always
over
that
your
like
whole car.
one scenario, right? Now
Right.
that all our headphones are no longer just analog, and it kills me. No, well, I mean, to a certain extent, you do get better
You should
quality audio because it is a DAC, right, in there. But now all of this is going through this one charging port that needs to transmit data. And so, yeah, I see the point. It can be an increasingly effective attack vector.
Well, that and you think about the cable in your bag. Like inherently, I know I have a white cable in my bag that is my cable that I trust because I think that's the cable that is in my bag. If I can't tell the difference between an evil cable, it's very trivial for a professional to swap that cable at any given point in time.
See,
even
I
if
love
for the
this because
most-
now I can cost justify to the people that like approve my budgets sitting next to me that I need custom cables so that I don't succumb to these attacks because I love custom cables.
I will say I didn't do custom, but I just replaced every lightning charging cable in our house with the Anchor.
Yeah, I like
cable.
Anchor.
Oh, those are nice
Cables.
cables.
Anchor makes some nice
the big one?
cloth sleeved ones.
Those
that
are
are
the
nice.
ones,
Yeah.
and they were like $20 a piece. But you know what? They have a lifetime warranty because
Oh.
all those ends that fucking break.
Oh yeah.
Yep, I
I've had
replaced
plenty of
every
those
cable.
I bought these. They were like, I don't know, $5.99 for like 20 of them, and they're these little plastic coils that you put on the ends of all your cable. And I went to all the cables that we use all the time, all of my personal cables, and I put those on all of them. And not just because of the cost so much, because cables are cheap, but it's the pain in the ass of if you're stuck in an airport like Matt almost was, or you're at an event and I need to pull out a charging cable to charge my phone with my battery pack, and then my cable's dead because the end has come loose.
Yep.
I just put on all my cables. Again, it was like $5.99 for 20 of these things. It's great.
I just replaced all 5 of our lightning charging cables at our home dock. 1 for my office, 4 for my truck, 2 for Kristen's car, and 1 for Corinne for her travel bag.
Yep.
It was like $220 on lightning recharging cables, but lifetime warranty.
There you go.
Did you forget your jump bag?
No,
Bag
I
you
did.
take with you on the road.
I did not.
My jump
Sorry,
bag
that
is
was
in my bag all the
But all
time.
an attacker has to do now is make cables that look the same way.
Right,
you're
and then
screwed.
swap
Right.
them out.
So the other nice thing is they come, USB-C, they come
Right.
micro, they come lightning, and like it's a standard freaking cable. I've actually mixed one of these up once, and I had to plug it in and execute to figure out which one was the real one. So that becomes a problem.
So
right?
now
You need some colored electrical tape, Tyler.
and you mark the good ones, not the evil ones.
right. Yes.
Because if you mark
Yes.
the evil ones, fucking game over, man.
then people know if you swap them out.
right.
Right.
To take a quick step back, the project is the Ponagachi from EvilSocket, who is also the developer of the lead developer of BetterCap. And Ponagachi is an AI that learns from the Wi-Fi environment and instruments BetterCap in order to maximize the WPA key material, including PMKIDs, full and half WPA. WPA
Do I
handshake
dare ask
captures.
what Ponagachi means in Japanese?
Well, you know what the Tamagotchi was, right?
No.
Tamagotchi was from the 90s with those the early 2000s rather, with the little bubbles that you had to feed the little pet.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
instead of a Tamagotchi, it's a Ponagachi.
Gotcha.
And it learns and has that whole thing for WPA. So specifically, it does lots of fun things. They can talk to each other through advertisements over a parasite protocol on top of 802.11. And his reason why, for hackers to reinforce learning, more Wi-Fi networking, and have excuse to take a walk more often. And it's cute as fuck.
But a parasite protocol, is that like Telnet? Is that?
No. Oh. Yeah, so effectively, if I remember correctly, he's using 802.11 beacons to transfer data over 802.11 beacons in some of the extra information elements. Yeah. So yeah, I bought enough to build 2 just to play with, especially where they're so small.
Hey, my plane leaves in 9 minutes. If it were only here.
Lies. Fucking lies.
Lies and lies and more lies. All right, what else we got? Anything?
Yeah. MITRE ATT&CK clipboard data. This is relevant to other one that I had, Paul.
Yeah, tell me about that one, Larry. This is the one that I didn't read.
This is
Thanks
your
for
story.
picking on that.
You're welcome. I don't know what the MITRE ATT&CK clipboard data is, but certainly, clipboard data is very valuable to folks. I mean, we've shown that in Guardians with some of our
use
other
Control
projects.
C, Control V all the time.
Exactly, and then
Command C, Command V. Sorry, I'm on a Mac.
or Control
so,
Shift
yeah,
C, Control Shift V, or
It's
Control
going
V.
through all the different attack frameworks that steal clipboard data.
Yep.
Dark Comet, developed in 2008, and all these different things. And I guess what piqued my interest was LastPass exploits that are stealing clipboard data.
Doesn't even need to exploit.
I'm a big LastPass user, and I hate the fact that in its latest versions, is it still vulnerable to basically clipboard attacks?
You're copying to the clipboard. So yes.
But they do clear the clipboard after paste now. Like you can't double paste.
Interesting.
It's good.
Oh,
but it
interesting.
still ends up in the clipboard until you paste.
It does, and apparently there is some different API calls, and they do try and leverage some kind of like their separate keyboard. There's a few discrepancies in the way that they handle their clipboard and the code they use, but it's still if the attacker's tool is written right, it will manage to grab everything that it needs to grab.
Yep.
Sounds like you've researched this extensively, Tyler.
This is why he's
I
on
have no
the
idea
show
what you're
now,
talking
right?
about.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's doing this stuff like daily, like
Yeah.
Larry is. and-
Tyler, do you
right?
still follow up with Adam on his stuff?
Yeah, he's definitely continuing on a lot of his work, and there are other actually open source projects out there that have leveraged some of the very similar techniques. So
Yep, absolutely.
To gain access to the clipboard, what level of permissions and code execution do I need? Can I be executing in the browser and access the clipboard that all browser tabs and browser windows have access to?
So that would typically be the system, the system clipboard, or that would be the user.
The
within
user's
inside
clipboard.
user land clipboard.
Yep.
But from system, you can hook. In multi-tenancy environments, there's ways to hook from the system other clipboards that then can pull data out of different areas. That becomes more interesting when you're talking about things like hypervisors or terminal servers.
Yep.
Where you're actually having multiple users on like end user desktops. Then the context in which you're running is typically where you're trying to steal the clipboard
which
from.
is user, yeah.
Yeah, which is typically
Right,
your
but
user.
I mean, if it's a browser exploit, I can execute code
You can
as the
execute
user,
as
but
the
like
user. Yep.
within JavaScript from a browser, I access the clipboard of other web pages the user is accessing, or does that depend on the browser and their
Probably
operating
depends
system?
on the browser, because I think
And
Chrome isolates
and it's
parts of
not
that.
and it's not that it's a clipboard per web page. It's a clipboard per system, or per logged in user. So like you
So it's
load
global.
a web page and you do a Control C from that. It's the system clipboard, not a web page.
Not something inside the browser.
No, it's a
I get it.
system.
it's stored in the user's clipboard. So
User's
it would be
clipboard.
So I have to be able to execute code as the user,
correct.
Yes.
not
Yeah.
You
the
need
browser.
user
Yep.
access.
And then
Well, that's good. but
and Tyler,
not
I don't know if you thought about this one, and this is one that drives me freaking nuts because I've been working on Sans virtual machine for 617 lately. Is having an evil virtual machine that can pull that clipboard as well, especially if you have file and copy paste sharing between the two. because I'm
So
doing a
that's one
lot
of
of back
the-
and forth between the two.
Yeah, that's one of the only ways that we've exploited some high security, high sensitive areas where they're using jump servers.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is through the clipboard. In fact, Adam, like I won't call him out, but I'm going to call him out because he needs to be more public. But
Yeah.
he's
Wait,
written some
Adam,
very
we're
very
talking about
Adam Crompton.
Adam
Crompton.
Not
Not-
Adam Compton, who we work
Yes.
with at Tenable, different
Yep,
person.
Adam
from
Crompton.
different person.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Encoder himself. He's
The
written some very
Decapitator.
specific. The Decapitator.
Yeah.
He's written some C2 that actually leverages the clipboard in between virtual machines in order to do command and control. Because a lot of the secure environments we're not able to do anything between those environments, and the only way to get communications through there is to either control the whatever GUI we have access to, which is often not available. So we have to leverage the clipboard and to be able to pass commands to and from the clipboard, pick it up, pass it back to the system, interpret it, have it do an action, send something back to the clipboard, do an action on the other side of that. It's pretty novel as far as how the attack works, but it's probably one of the only ways that we could come up with on a lot of our ICS or our highly secured assessments.
Yep, and for the record, it was a start as an InGuardians project, and I hope Adam has forked it and continues development. It's the InGuardians Invoke Clipboard project on GitHub. So
Yep, he has continued it,
Good. I really hope he's forked it and continues to.
and hopefully, calling him out, he might continue to do that and bring that more limelight for everybody else.
Yep. Yeah, I see that. I see there's a fork. Some forks available. So good. Oh, and it wasn't Adam that continued to fork that. So.
No, it wasn't.
But good. He should. It's out there. Please go do so. The reason why I thought this was pretty interesting was that there was some new malware identified that is using a Mossad stealer using Telegram to steal cryptocurrency by accessing browser passwords and clipboard information. Like, ooh.
And again, not
clipboard
new
information.
things, right?
Yeah.
Like these are things that have been in many of the toolkits of attackers for a long time. The fact that these are getting automated and or called out to some of the public as part of one of the APT guides or one of the known now MITRE attack new framework pieces, then I think that's super helpful from a blue standpoint to understand all of these different attacks and not just hear about them and not correlate them or have a reference point to try and protect against them. But I think it also it's starting to numb people a little bit as far as like, oh, this is a brand new novel thing. Like they're starting to think that all of these things we've been telling them for the last 10 years hasn't been a thing, and you need to watch what you plug into your computer. Well, you've got to watch what cables you're plugging into your computer. You got to know that your clipboard's going to get stolen. Be careful what you're copying in and pasting places. Like these are things that are common, but people are just starting to get the limelight a little bit more.
And I
know what?
noticed. Hold on 1 second. I noticed Tyler, you've got
keep
your.
wanting to call him Taylor.
I keep
Wow.
saying Taylor. I don't know why. You've got your blue shirt on tonight. You had your red shirt on last week. Do we get the purple shirt next week?
You can definitely have the purple shirt.
Okay. When do we get no shirt though? That's what.
Oh.
How many
I thought that was
episodes?
supposed to be this week.
Maybe when you come in studio.
Yeah.
No shirt.
There you go.
The no shirt Security Weekly.
You know what the difference between pink and purple is, though, right?
Strength of the grip.
The grip.
So do we want to
I
talk
knew that
about
one.
Larry?
I knew that one.
How about Larry's number 3 story, my number 4 story?
No, I wanted to talk about the Yahoo thing. Is that
That's the one.
That's the one.
As soon as I said that, I was like, oh
No,
wait,
no,
Larry's
no.
number
1, 2, 3.
yeah,
Oh, 1, 2, 3.
Leave
Oh,
number
yeah,
4.
it's the
Yeah,
Yahoo
yeah.
one.
Lee,
All
fuck,
right,
Lee,
hold on.
No, Lee, fuck it. We're going to talk about Paul's, the one that he wants to talk about.
All right, let's talk
I
about
want to talk about Larry's story number 3 and Lee's story number 4, and I want you guys to start that while I go grab another cigar from my humidor.
Oh, shit. You mean we had to read these? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, man.
I'm
He
kidding.
got up in the middle
Well,
of
there
the
was
set,
this guy.
folks, because
Wow.
I took his last cigar. Sorry.
Wow.
No, actually, one was damaged. It needs repair.
No.
Former Yahoo engineer pleads guilty at hacking 6,000 accounts and hunt for nudes. It's called Pornhub.com. Why is he hacking other accounts? I don't get it.
But why?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Pornhub.com and all those places, I mean, they've got the anonymous people. But my understanding was the intent was that he was hacking accounts so that he could get access to accounts of his coworkers.
Oh, and use it as blackmail?
No. He just wanted to see Susie down the hall naked.
Oh.
But I mean,
he was credential sniff. He was looking for credentials that were stored to their Yahoo accounts to get into all kinds of services. And why pay for porn when you can get it for free? Wait a minute.
I mean,
wait.
Why pay for free porn when you can get it
For
from the
free?
But I
the
think
honey down the tube?
And
far.
get prosecuted for hacking accounts when you
I
can
don't know.
already
But
get it for
I
free?
think if you read this article or one of the iterations of this article, it says he was targeting friends, family, and coworkers' account to find pornographic material. My thinking is the only reason you would really do that is so that you could blackmail your friends,
what I
family,
thought.
and coworkers. So I think that the media has portrayed this as this person who is a horrible person, or at least made a very horrible mistake, Daniel Ruiz, was really out to blackmail people and really not out looking for porn. But the articles make it out as that Reyes was really out looking for porn, where, as Matt said, you can just go to Pornhub to get, my friends tell me there's porn on the internet, right?
Right. My friends tell me that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Some
I
of them
keep
are in
hearing
this
the internet's
office.
for porn.
Right. And so when
I
you
want to
read,
know. I want to know how bad he was if he only got 6,000. Like if he has Yahoo as his
You
available
have millions
search.
of users.
what there was
But it tells me he
3
was
million
targeting-
accounts hacked in Yahoo.
But it tells me he
Right,
was targeting his friends, family, and coworkers, and limiting that to about a group of 6,000 based on his search criteria.
But if
That
he's going to
means-
blackmail him, does he really have 6,000 friends and family?
No, he
Well,
just
but
figured he had enough adjacencies.
He sucks at
and-
making queries in the database.
Right.
Tyler, is really what it.
Right.
when it
And
comes
why the
down to
hell,
it.
if he was a Yahoo engineer, did he have to do password resets to get there? I mean, couldn't he have been smarter than that to get at this data? seems that
Well, the
6,000
hackers
people
got
would
to-
notice their
to-
passwords being reset.
Right. I mean, hackers
I
got
think
to
we're
3
coming down
billion
to is
accounts.
this is
so-
just a dumb criminal.
Yeah, this one's dumb.
A
This
dumb,
one's
well,
really
no.
dumb.
The story's not dumb. I think this is a like all
think-
stories we cover where it's a dumb criminal, such as, since we're on the topic of porn, there was 2 individuals that were spotted on video surveillance breaking into a facility to hack the digital billboard to put porn on it.
Wait, the
Were they-
A6 one?
This is not in my show notes. This
It's
is
from Hack Naked News.
this is from earlier.
Yeah, from Tuesday.
Now, I want to put it out there in this show as well that while we want to laugh, and we do laugh at these stories because it's funny, however, it's not funny if you're traveling in the car with your kids and they're seeing heinous pornography on the digital billboards. Also, if you think these air quotes pranks, which are really crimes, are funny, it's really not, because you are prosecuted with very, very serious crimes. In the crime of actually, it's very interesting, putting pornography or making pornography available to minors or in public view is, from what I read, depends on your state or
Right.
city or town. Probably not a felony, probably a misdemeanor, right?
Right.
It's 90 days in jail or $500
In Nevada, it's not much at all.
fine. Correct. It depends
But
on where you live.
in Utah, it would be super crazy.
right? But breaking into a facility, breaking and entering, committing a computer crime, CFFA violation, that's a felony.
Yep.
So not only do you have the local laws to deal with, now you've probably committed multiple felonies
Right.
just to pull off this, again, air quotes prank, and I don't want to use the word prank, I want to use the word crime. This is a crime. It is not worth it to pull this off. I understand that you may be sitting around drinking and doing other things with your friends and going, that'd be really funny. And some of your friends have the technical abilities and social engineering skills and lock picking and all that stuff, and they had hoodies on and sunglasses so they couldn't see who they are on video surveillance, and you could pull that off. You don't let your friends do it. Don't make this. It's a
Right.
bad decision
In-
all
in-
around for so many reasons.
Don't let your friends hack. Drunk.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
This is Department of Justice, which means it's moved to the federal level. He faces a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison for one account of computer intrusion and a fine of $250,000 plus restitution. Now, if they find multiple incidents of this, then you multiply those on top of it. And so this can get really, really expensive.
But restitution could be, again.
Oh, my God. It could be millions.
Again, we've had several lawyers on the show, right? And I'm not saying I'm a lawyer, but if you're a citizen in your car with your children and they've witnessed this, restitution is a possibility. I'm not saying I'm a lawyer, right? But that could be a potential avenue for restitution. My child was scarred, and then you go put that in front of a judge or jury or even in a deposition. Dude, that's not looking good for you as someone who thought it was a good idea to pull off this prank. I just want to put that PSA out there to people. Like, I know many of our listeners have morals and values and carry those forward. Have been listening to the show and listening to us preach about permission and having morals and ethics when it comes to hacking. If you can instill that in other people and stop people from doing ridiculous things like this, there are other ways to prove that the billboard is vulnerable. Number one, you should get permission to test these systems. Number two, if you are going to do it, don't do it in this way.
Don't do it in a public way.
Prove some other way that this is and again, even that, you're still accessing a computer system without permission. You're still likely going to be charged with a federal crime.
And let's put it this way: if you want it, and if you are doing it without permission, and you are going to be charged with a crime, won't someone think of the children? Like, do Forever Alone Guy, or instead of porn. Like, there's plenty of other ways to get
to prove your point.
Prove your point and get your lulz than porn.
I mean, so I sympathize with security researchers, right? Because all of us on the show, right, and many of us listening, been in the security community for 20 years or so, and it could be that you've been, and I'm not saying this is the case, but let's just speculate for a moment. You've been working as a security researcher, trying to work with the company behind this billboard, going, there's vulnerabilities, and they're just not responding.
Yeah.
And so your response is, well, I'm going to hack it
myself
and put something up. Why not just put, like, this billboard can be hacked on the side? That gets your point across without committing other kinds of crime. I'm not even saying that's a smart idea, because you're still potentially going to be committing a felony if you do that. At the very least, you're going to be sued by the company, and their ninja lawyers are going to come down from helicopters on ropes. And
we saw this with
Ninja
airline security and some of the other stuff. We've covered some of these stories, right? Some people got into some major trouble trying to prove their point that some of these Wi-Fi networks on the airplanes weren't secure, that you could get into the flight control systems. Nobody would listen, so he did it.
But it's even
think about all the ramifications
it's even
of that.
dicey if you release the information on how to do it. I mean, that's probably the safest path in the context of this conversation, is to say, hey, I evaluated the security of this particular digital billboard. I work with the company, they wouldn't respond. So you know what? I'm basically forced my hand. I'm going to release it to the public. Now,
I don't know. That didn't work out well for Snowden.
But as far as I know, Tyler, in this context, that's not necessarily a felony, but you might be sued by the company, right?
Very good possibility of that.
Right. Very good possibility the company's probably gonna sue
or
you.
You'll end up in Russia with Snowden. That's the other possibility.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's different, Tyler. I mean, that
was national
government,
security
national
stuff.
security and secrets.
All depends on who you're hacking.
But billboards and national secrets, I think, are two separate things. In the context of national secrets, I agree. If you're trying to make those things public, you're going to end up like Snowden and be in Ecuador,
basically
and
exiled,
basically act like an asshole and get kicked out and go to Russia. Right? Yeah. In any case,
you never get to go inside of a Hooters again.
Yeah,
just like exile.
But maybe you could have your cat bring Hooters in. Never mind.
Whoa.
Or you could put the little pie on the cat, let it go to Hooters and control it, and
camera. They make camera. Never mind.
Cat cam.
The funniest comment I ever had about going to Hooters, a guy I used to work with, and he says, "Why would I want to go there? I went to high school with those skanky girls. I know what they look like."
That's awesome.
And they don't even have very good wings. So
back in the day, though, their wings were good.
No, when you had wings and Dom, the Dom made up for the lack of wings. Lee, that's all I'm saying.
But breaded wings are evil. Like,
I used to like Hooters wings in high school when we'd be like, let's go to Hooters, right?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah, you didn't like the wings.
it was a thing.
And
You
now-
like the view.
And now we can't go to Hooters here.
Because it closed the Department of Health. From sources that I have locally, Department of Health shut down the Hooters in Rhode Island, okay?
Yep.
And it was right near the airport, Matt. So if you were like, do some Google
If I
searching,
were
like, "There's a
stuck
Hooters
at the
near
airport tonight.
There was a Hooters near the airport. It's closed, dude. Department of Health. You don't want to eat there.
Too many Hooters near the wings.
Oh my! So many escapes.
Okay, so we covered the Yahoo thing,
Yep.
both porn stories.
We didn't cover the American Express insider breaches cardholder information.
Oh,
This is a Jeff story
I-
because we'd have PCI said multiple times.
Yeah,
and
but
we'd
but
be
I think
drinking
but
even
I think
more.
the insider thing ties to the Yahoo thing. a
It
little
does
bit.
because it's an insider thing. It's
Yeah.
it's a former employee that
So-
took a bunch of credit cards, social security numbers, etc.
They were PCI compliant, though, Matt.
Yeah, well, they're the card brand, so they don't necessarily have to be PCI compliant.
Well,
but
they
all
do.
I wanna
They
pivot in
do,
different
but they
direction.
can
Yeah.
set different rules.
There's a Twitter conversation that I ducked out of today because I was busy, but it basically culminated in us debating security versus compliance.
Right.
Yes,
And
based
did you
on
see this?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Josh,
the one that went last night for a
Josh
while.
Marpet made
that one totally went off the wheels.
I don't want to. I don't
It
want.
did.
I don't want to put words in Josh's mouth or
Do it. Put something else in
whatever.
this.
But in
Never mind.
any case, and I want to have it on the show. But Josh said something along the lines of that compliance drives security, and of course, I made all kinds of colorful kind
Yep.
of analogies in that, and I largely. Josh, I love you, but I largely disagree with pretty much everything he was saying. But again, happening in the context of Twitter, I understand that. Josh and I have known each other for a long time, obviously.
They will
but-
see the promo right,
Yeah,
after,
right after.
right after this, and we'll talk about aspects of that on the new show. But yes,
I think in my comment, which I thought was really funny, because I laugh at my own jokes because I'm a dad, I'm 42, and I said, like if security and compliance were in a relationship and I were to post that status to social media, it's complicated.
Yeah.
And Josh was like, no, it's pretty simple. And I'm like, no, it's actually
Pretty fucking
really
complicated.
It's actually really complicated.
complicated.
Super complicated. Because I don't think that, compliance drives aspects of security.
but it doesn't necessarily drive full security. Jeff
Right.
started it with a slash equals, and I'm like, no, it's a bang equal, not equal.
Not
Okay,
equal.
first, right? Not equal.
Yep.
And that's where the kind of spin continues to
Because
happen.
even in a programming context, it gets because maybe it doesn't equal certain attributes of the object we call
Correct.
security. Right?
Just because
It's
you're
a few of
compliant-
those attributes, maybe.
right.
Right?
Just because
Yeah.
you're compliant doesn't mean you're secure.
The only reason compliance is around is to drive security because we were not doing security well. So
Hey,
compliance is not.
Yes.
It drives
It's
a certain level of
conversation
security,
starter. It
Tyler.
does.
I'll definitely agree
Yeah.
with you there.
And
It deals with the basics. Are you doing vulnerability scanning? Are you doing log collection? Are you doing file integrity monitoring? Are you doing blah blah blah?
Like compliance
But-
can
but
drive
security's so
compliance
more
can drive the
complex than that.
minivan that like drives security's children around, like
Right.
aspects of security,
Right.
but not like the whole family.
Right.
Like, sorry, it
Yeah.
doesn't happen that way.
The children still need
I
to
need
go to
some more.
soccer
I
practice.
need some more bourbon.
The children still need to go to soccer
Oh,
practice,
sorry.
and they need to score some fucking goals. Like, if you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
right.
So
They got to get
You
out of
could
the van,
extend
do their
that
stuff.
analogy.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Agree.
well,
Yeah, it went off the
tell
rails.
you that there are people like my buddy Ron Ross who are trying to close the gap.
I know.
For,
Actually, we're bringing
but I
Ron
didn't say it's
on.
perfect.
And we're bringing Ron on to the new show. Look,
it'll be
I've known
awesome.
Ron for, oh my gosh, 2003, 2004, in the early days of NIST, and what
Yeah.
became 853. And so we're actually going to bring him on because we're going to talk all things NIST on the new show. We are going to get Ron Ross on and have part of this conversation because he's been doing this for 15 plus years of driving some of these standards that are now part of the federal government. Lee, you deal with this stuff on a daily basis. But
Yes.
we also use that a lot because in the early days of compliance, NIST was the framework we used because it was the most prescriptive outside of PCI on giving you a set of security controls that you could actually start to validate against and drive it. And it's
I
more.
think that's my point with Josh is that compliance is an aspect of security, not that compliance drives all of security.
Correct.
It drives portions of it.
Right. This will be the fun debates on the new show. I'm just telling you because this is where my expertise coming from security into compliance and then back into security.
I don't think
I see some of those
We've never put as
gaps.
much thought and discussion into the title of a show as security and compliance weekly.
Oh my gosh, we debated that thing back and forth.
And people just think, oh, like, yeah, it just,
Yeah.
wrote it on a whiteboard, and that was no. It's very much about the balance between.
Yes.
I love the fact that the new show, the logo has the Grand Theft Auto font.
That is also very much a subject for debate.
Yes.
Some are somewhat concerned that
Only
it
the
is
host.
associated with a video game that may or may not promote various bad things.
Fuck
But I added the
Fuck it.
eyes, and now it looks good.
Fuck
So,
it.
I'm just saying.
So
Fuck it.
I will
That's
say
what I say. That I think the logo looks great.
Let's put it this way. I heard some discussion about the whole Matrix red pill, blue pill thing, and that those got taken over by various movements. And fuck those guys. You can't take our geek culture away from us. So,
right.
It's a Matrix reference.
yeah, go look up
Yeah.
red pill on the internet. And
What?
Yeah.
Red pill or the
Don't
blue
do
pill?
it.
Which one?
Don't
No.
do it. You're going to go in a rat hole.
Good
You're
lord.
gonna get upset.
Yep. You're gonna get pissed off because they took.
But
our,
I'm not allowed to get pissed off because it's not politically correct, Larry. Haven't you seen? So
Take another drink, Paul.
He's got it in his hand.
Every time we talk about this, I come back to Black Mirror and
Yes.
the episode where you're scored on everything that you say.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, I'd be.
Johnny
I-
probably
I'm-
knows the name of the episode.
You and I would be in the toilet, dude.
What is the episode where you have this
Black Mirror episode
where you
2 or
rank
3.
Yeah, where you ranked on everything you say and whether or not it's offensive. Nosedive,
Yes.
season 3, episode
Is
1.
it season 3? No,
He's
it's
like a
season 1.
freaking encyclopedia back there.
It's season
Black
1.
Mirror.
It's season
Black
1 of Black Mirror. It's season 1.
I don't think it's season 1. It came out after season 1.
It's season 1.
It's,
Yes.
All right. If you haven't hold on. If you haven't seen Black Mirror, like fast forward for like 30 seconds. It's the one where at the end she's in the jail cell and she's cursing, and the other person in the other jail cell is cursing, and that's how it ends.
Johnny, you're right.
That's Nosedive, yeah.
Yeah, you're
Nosedive.
right. It's first
Season 3, episode 1.
Season 3, episode 1. Yep.
You were wrong to question Johnny about
I
Black
was.
Mirror.
He's an
He
encyclopedia
is
back
an
there, dude.
encyclopedia of
With Black Mirror and a few other episodes, yeah.
Yep.
Shows
Nosedive.
That is arguably one of my favorite shows on TV. Which
It's
my wife
arguably
doesn't
my
get.
favorite episode because every time we talk about being politically correct or not, that's the episode that I think of. That's like where we're going.
And that's
right?
and I am.
It is.
I am the fucking truck driver in that episode.
How about White Bear?
So many Black Mirror episodes, I
Dude.
think, are very predictive of where we could go if we don't make changes in.
Yeah. So
Society.
many. Yeah.
We're not even going to get
The
into
new
it.
season 5, Striking Vipers with the VR stuff.
I haven't seen
That would correlate.
I haven't seen any of the new seasons yet.
Oh, dude.
but
I haven't either.
But I'm gonna binge watch. But one of my favorite episodes that tied a whole lot of the other stuff together was Heavy Metal, and
Love that.
that one is fucking terrifying.
It's a lot of people's least favorite.
Which for me is fucking terrifying. So, Tyler's like, what? What's TV?
His video's not frozen. That's good.
Yeah. Tyler, if you ever get to go on site and have some time, fire up some Black Mirror and start skip season 1, episode 1. Go back and watch that later. And I watched some of those
Oh,
with
the one
Adam.
with the pig?
Yep. And I watched some with Adam. He had never seen it before. We were at an Airbnb in Florida, and he was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
You picture Adam.
I can hear his voice.
Picture Adam. Picture Adam. What the?
It's the Twilight Zone in
The
a modern technology context. Yep, pretty much. Lee, I want to talk about the unpatchable jailbreak for all iOS devices.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
The impossible jailbreak.
Basically, there's a jailbreak. It's a firmware vulnerability in the boot ROM, so it's not updatable by OS update of everything basically before the iPhone 11.
So
Which is
so
a
what?
lot of iPhones.
So what? A12 and earlier chipset?
4S
11.
to iPhone
A-
10. Yeah.
No.
11.
So no,
I think it's 11.
It was specific to the Apple chipset.
The chipset matters, yeah.
Yeah, and it's what A12 and earlier.
Okay. But basically, I mean, there is no fix. I mean, the fix is to get a newer device, but the thing is,
Well, hold on.
It's a
Now, Lee,
transient
hold on. I
fix.
want to go back to that comment.
That means we all have to buy 11.
A newer device means I have to go buy an iPhone 11. Now, I have to say,
It's a great marketing
but-
scheme for
but
my wife
Apple.
broke her screen on her previous iPhone, like maybe about a week before the new iPhone release. I'm like, well,
Coincidence? I think not.
yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna buy you a new one and then do the whole cycle thing through the
Uh-huh.
whole family when you have kids, right? And it is the latest and greatest iPhone. The camera is absolutely amazing.
The three?
A lot of us can justify it, right? Like I have three kids. My wife spends most of the time with the kids. She's documenting our children's upbringing, so like, okay, I can justify the.
He
the
went
new
11,
camera.
not 11 Pro. He didn't do the. Did you?
No,
do
I
the-
did the Pro Max.
You did the Pro. Oh, so
Yeah.
he's got the 3
Well,
cameras.
because it's
You got
but she doesn't like ask for a new phone every time a new one comes out. So like she's good for a while now,
Yeah, she's
right?
good for-
Like
good for
me,
3.
like every time a new Pixel comes out, I'm like, Pixel 3's out as soon as I can pre-order the Pixel 4, right? But that's like what we do here at Security Weekly is try and keep up with technology.
Now
but-
that said, the big one, and I think where Lee was going to go with this, is that it is a tethered exploit.
yes,
Thank you.
It is not something we can exploit, be done with, and every time you reboot your phone, you need to have that thing connected to the exploit.
mm-hmm.
It also doesn't.
Good night and happy birthday to Lee, so you can have birthday sex. Hopefully with Shelly,
Thank you,
and not
and not by himself.
not by yourself or with anyone else.
Oh no!
Be my recommendation.
Shelly's got stuff going in the next room. I can hear and smell what she's cooking. She's lit the fireplace. I
She's
think
lit the
there's a
fire.
hint there.
It's 4:52. You got plenty of time, baby.
No. It's 5:52 his time,
Oh, are you my time?
Yes, it's
oh, I didn't.
5:52.
and dinner
Oh,
is
you're
at
mountain.
dinner is
Oh.
at 6. So
Well, his
8
dinner
minutes.
was at 4, so he's like 2 hours late.
Right.
Well,
Love you, Lee. Love you, Lee.
Yeah.
Happy
love you
birthday.
guys.
Have a good night.
So Lee, before you go, real quick, I feel you on the getting old part. Paul made the joke. He's what 42. I'm going to be 45.
I'm the answer.
I'm going to be 45 this year, and some recent developments in my life. I had to go get my new glasses because these are falling apart.
Oh, I thought you were going to say new pills.
No, I literally have electrical tape and shit holding them together, and the paint's all off.
You need to get some pills
and
for that.
the new glasses are progressives.
Mm.
Like,
Oh, cool.
which is what they the young kids call bifocals.
Right.
So I got bifocals, and I had to go and get some X-rays done Tuesday, which is why I was here in studio to check out the new go live of the show. And turns out the reason why one of my fingers is all fucked up is not because it was broken; it's because it's arthritis.
Oh,
And the next time I'm in studio, I will be turning 50
Wow.
later this month.
Wow!
So I'm an old fart too.
And you don't wear glasses or have arthritis.
No, I have contacts, and one is set for near, and one is set for far. See, I tweak them in my contacts, not in my glasses.
What day is your birthday, Matt?
October 25th, I will be on the show on the 24th.
Scorpio Brothers on the
The-
29th.
the
All
25th.
excuses to drink really good spirits and wine.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time on the 24th, boys. Join us.
And with that,
all right, guys.
Lee, get the hell out of here.
Happy
I
birthday.
am getting the hell out of here.
Go
Here
ta-
comes
go-
my reminder.
Yeah,
Yep.
go take your pills now, so you're ready for later.
Happy birthday. Lee.
takes 45 minutes to an hour to activate.
She was tugging on his ear.
She's tugging on his ear. It's
He
like,
was
time to go, honey.
He was like, no. Go on.
Like, can you blame him?
Two of the nicest people in
Oh
the
my
world.
gosh! Oh my
I
gosh!
Just wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So, where are we going next?
I don't
know.
I don't know how much we got left.
Did you finish the iPhone?
Well, kinda.
Oh, we should probably end the show.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think we're
and
good.
with that, everyone, thank you so much for hosting the show with us tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. Larry, take us out.
Lee, happy birthday! Over and in and out and in and out and in and out.